If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Before Epstein was the Franklin cover-up. Before that, the Finders. And long before that, the Cleveland Street Scandal. Pedogate Primer is a concise intro and overview of a growing child abuse epidemic worldwide. It features shocking instances of institutionalized and organizational pedophilia throughout history. Churches, cults, the world of arts and entertainment, the government, NGOs, charities, and major corporations are all complicit or culprits in many instances. Pedogate Primer delves into material that for many may seem like the stuff of conspiracy theories. For this reason, the book draws on academic resources, declassified documents, and other reliable sources, and steers clear of conjecture. Such shocking true stories need no embellishment.
Emailrevealer.com. People ask me all the time, hey Ed, are you still a private investigator? I sure am. Go to emailrevealer.com. We handle adoption investigations, infidelity investigations, where you give us your spouse's email address. We trace it back to online dating websites, catch them cheating online. Email tracing, locate or identify somebody from as little as an anonymous email address. Someone owe you money? Back child support? We can find that deadbeat, locate his hidden assets, locate his hidden bank accounts, find his current place of employment, and even assist you in obtaining a judgment and recover that judgment for you. Emailrevealer.com. Digital forensics, computer forensics, cell phone forensics, recover deleted text messages. Create a report that you can use in court. Emailrevealer.com, 800-572-9762. The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Hello. Welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. Here we go. Another night. Another show. Okay, here we go. It's a Friday night, 8 p.m., 7/22/22. Well, that must mean something, right? That's at July 22. What? July 22 already? Jesus. What is going on, man? It's a few weeks. I got to run up to D.C. again And we got to get a new car before then. Oh boy, what a mess! I got so much to do. Yeah, I shouldn't look at the calendar. It just ruins my mood. Okay, let's see. You want to look for me? You can find me on Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting. You can check me out there, or you just want to email me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. I would appreciate it if you contact me, especially going forward, about PI work. And if you go to the Opperman Report radio show and you contact me there, or you send a message there, say, hey, Ed, I want to speak to you about a PI job. And then I'll send you my work email, just so we can keep track of stuff. You can open up problems. If you're emailing me on the radio show email and something down the road, I get a subpoena, search warrant, then they can go into all the radio show emails. We don't want that. So you PI work, Opperman Investigations. I wish people... nothing simple. If you like our show, check out our Patreon. And if you go to Patreon right now, we uploaded a brand new show today. Chris Todd, that LA investigative reporter I had on about the Delphi murders and also about the OJ accomplice, did a show with him about the mysterious death of Natalie Wood. Now that's in there. It's ad-free. It's exclusive content you can't find anywhere else. There's a show we just uploaded with Melinda Kula, John Monet Ramsey murder case. Did an interview with her, a 2-part interview with her years and years and years ago. And I tried to follow up and look into the case a little further, the information that she had. And it was just very difficult, very impossible to get anything accomplished. So I just moved on with it. But and then we did this interview here that's been in the members section. We just put up in Patreon. So you can check that out. Aaron Leonard, the folk singers in the Bureau of the FBI and folk artists in the suppression of the Communist Party. That's a show I did. It was in the free archives. It's been on the radio. But this is ad-free, commercial-free. All this stuff is ad-free, commercial-free. Ad-free, commercial-free. Ad-free, commercial-free. I know people hate those ads. T.H. Johnson about a theory he had about Geronimo Pratt and the O.J. Simpson case. That, once again, is exclusive to the old members section that's up here. Ed Niedermeyer, Ludicrous, the unvarnished story of Tesla Motors. That's a show that we had up on, played on the radio already, but this is ad-free, commercial-free. A.J. Weberman about Fred Trump and the KKK. That's about 7 years old. That's been up in the old members section, but now we have it here up in the what do you call it? The Patreon. Mary Knight, Am I Crazy? She's the one who confronted the false memory syndrome people. And Annika Lewis, who, if you look her up on YouTube, her videos there have hundreds of thousands, 300,000, 400,000 hits. So fascinating that, here you put something up on Patreon, it doesn't even get a couple of views. I wonder how that works. So that's Patreon. Let's see what's coming up in Patreon that it's about to be released. Dennis Brooks, Too Pretty to Live, The Catfish Murders of East Tennessee. Kit Clarenberg, the Death of Epstein. That's a good show. Brian Heiss and Pat McKenna, O.J. Simpson case. Henry Vincent, Confessions of a D.C. Madam. That's entirely exclusive. That Henry Vincent show. That's Confessions of a D.C. That's the whole Franklin cover-up stuff. This is the guy. This is the madam. This is the guy who was running the gay escorts. This is the guy who went to prison twice. The pilot, the one who was being blackmailed by Craig Spence and Lawrence King. This is the guy. No other interviews with this guy. Fine, look for one. Find one. I dare you. Okay, Henry Vincent, Confessions of a D.C. Madam. Brian Wilson, Blood on the Tracks. And so that's some new stuff that's coming up, about to be released. Plus, I may sneak out some stuff every now and then. Surprise you. You never know. You never know what Ed Opperman's going to do. He's out there. There's no stopping him. He's out of control. He's lost his mind. Okay, so there we have that. Of course, you want the archives. It's on Spreaker.com. You go to Spreaker.com. You sign up for free. Get an email notification when new content comes up. There's a chat room. All the old archives are up there. Nothing is getting uploaded to the regular YouTube channels. I have some temporary channels are up, but mostly garbage. and nothing getting uploaded there at all. What is this? Oh, okay. Please call for reservations. Thanks. Okay, it's thank you very much. It's 8:00 at night. I called you at 8:00 in the afternoon. Thank you so much. I'll get right on that. Okay. We got a ton of good content coming up for you. I interviewed today, this was yesterday. I'm doing about 2 interviews a day, 2 hours a day. I'm taping. Okay, so then even when I have to make my trip up to D.C. In August, we'll have plenty of brand new content every single day going up to Patreon and going up to the AM/FM stations and going up to the Spreaker people. Jen Thompson, who is a first-hand witness to the Columbine shootings. She's a first-hand witness and saw a third shooter who was not Eric, was not Dylan, and did not look like them, looked like a military-type guy. Very credible witness as far as her retelling of the events at that school. They appear to be seared into her memory. And when she's describing things like seeing this third shooter and describing what he looks like, it's the same level of intensity and sincerity that she's describing other incidents that are well known. Teachers getting shot, people she knows having to walk through glass and water. You can hear there's no addition or subtraction to this additional information that's being suppressed. So I was very impressed with her as far as her telling of that testimony there. Jen Thompson, Columbine survivor. The Next Civil War Dispatches from the American Future. Interesting fellow. I had him on. It's a good book. I would suggest people take a look at it. Guy's from Canada, and we were talking about, basically the division amongst the capitalists here. These capitalists here that just can't seem to get along. These Democrats and these Republicans. And they're just tiffing and fighting all over the place. El Golpe, U.S. Labor, the CIA, and the coup at Ford in Mexico. Very, very good guest. Mr. McKenzie. That'll be coming up too. AM/FM, all that stuff. Into the Nightmare, my search for the killers of President Kennedy. Another great show. Stewart Rhodes Swingers. I'm going to play this tonight. Did you know that Stewart Rhodes, the founder of the Oath Keepers, had a swinger lifestyle? He was out there. And so did that fellow Jason, the one who testified there in the dungaree jacket before the January 6th hearings, the spokesperson for the... turns out they lived together for a while there. The Jason fellow was married with kids, but Stewart would stay there on his couch, and they were all into this swinger lifestyle. How do you like that? We also got some exclusive information about $70,000 worth of gear and weaponry that was purchased before January 6th, and another large purchase of gear and weaponry that took place right after January 6th. And once again, that's with Tasha Adams, the wife, the current wife, and soon-to-be ex-wife of Stewart Rhodes, the leader of the Oath Keepers. So you guys, you can tell me all you want about how, Ed's just the silly goose. He doesn't know what he's doing. I got to tell you, I'm talking to the people involved. I don't know who you're talking to, where you get your information from, man. Good for you. If it's big hoax. Oh, wait, you believe that? Yeah, I do. Okay, I don't know where you're getting your information from. I know where I get my information from. The Night Stalker. We're going to play that tonight, too. Detective Gil Corrales. No, Castillo, I think his name is. He's in that documentary film on Netflix about the Night Stalker. Had him on. Pay careful attention to that interview. Okay, pay careful attention to that interview. I asked some very probing questions that I think people would want to hear. Profile Defenders, profiledefenders.com. An interesting guy. We had him on. What he does is that reputation repair online. So I had him on. That's already up in AM/FM land. Podcast for a New American Century. I forget what that's about. I forget what we were talking about in that interview. Let's see. Oh, man, I'm sore all over. That's about it. Pretty much. A Rabbit Hole eventually. Okay, that's been played. Anti-Lawyer. Alec Karaktastanis. Oh yeah, Unusual Cruelty. Yeah, that's a good one too as well. Riding with Evil, taking down the notorious pagan motorcycle gang. You can find that at Patreon too as well. So a lot of great content in the works. Guess who I'm talking to tomorrow? Good old John Draper, Captain Crunch. Remember that? He was like the first telephone hacker, phone freak, they used to call him back in the old days. That they was figuring out how to make free phone calls and stuff like that. He did some time for hacking. The guy used to live with A.J. Weberman. Did you know that? He was living over there at 10 Bleecker Street with our other guest, A.J. Weberman. I never met him back when I was a kid, but we did have some contact with each other back in Vegas. Never had the opportunity to meet, but we've been staying in contact over the phone. He's got some very serious medical issues, so we're going to try and raise some money for him. We have Joseph Green tomorrow coming up, too, because he did a play. The guy wrote a play, and the play is being performed. So I wanted to help him with that and promote that for him. Well, let's see if I can even look at my schedule here, see what other guests I have coming on. I got a big one Monday coming up, too. A big author. Forget who it is. Not an author. Yeah, she's like an author. Let me see if I can find this stuff real quick. Do my notes here. I'm exhausted. You have no idea. Here we go. Tuesday. Oh, Tuesday is this lawyer who was involved in an occult in Manhattan. And Monday is Ning Burley. I forget Burley. I forget what the story's about, though. I have to look it up. You know, and then I'm just booking like crazy. I got this woman helping me out, booking shows. She's doing a great job. So we're accumulating a little team here. Good old Ed Parnell uploading, and now help booking and scheduling guests. Well, she's helping to book guests for now. The scheduling part we haven't gotten into yet. And I'm the worst at that kind of thing. Talking to these people about what time the show is, and it's good. Trying to work out the time zones and stuff like that. I'm always apologizing. Oh, I'm so sorry, I got the wrong time, wrong day. But there you go for that. Okay, what's tonight's show about? The name of tonight's show is called The Barzini Meeting. The Barzini Meeting. It's from The Godfather. Okay. Now, I got a lot of stuff I'm going to be talking to you about tonight, but the Barzini Meeting. Now, why would I bring up the Barzini Meeting? Oh, there's a friend of mine here. Let me see how she's doing real quick. Because she's kind of out there. And oh, good. Okay. I can't deal with this now. Wait, good. Let me just pretend I'm live on here. Good. Okay. So, the Barzini Meeting. The Barzini Meeting is, or as it at least relates to tonight's show, is that scene in The Godfather where Vito Corleone is old and he's retired, and Michael's visiting him at his old house. Michael's busy with the keeping the family together and organized crime activities and stuff like that. And Vito is worried about his son and the future of the family. And so he's warning Michael that after he dies, okay, that whoever sets up with the meeting with the Barzini family, that's going to be the traitor. And who's going to set up Michael to be assassinated. Because once the Don, Vito Corleone, is dead, then it's going to be, the family's going to be up for grab, and all the family's material, the vengeance is going to come back. And he's worried that they're going to go after Michael. So he continually warns Michael over and over, almost compulsively. Anyway, here's the scene.
So, Barzini will move against you first. He'll set up a meeting with someone that you absolutely trust, guaranteeing your safety. And at that meeting, you'll be assassinated. I like to drink wine more than I used to. Anyway, I'm drinking more.
It's good for you, Pop.
I don't know. Your wife and children, are you happy with them?
Very happy.
That's good. I hope you don't mind the way I keep going over this Barzini business.
No, not at all.
It's an old habit. I spend my life trying not to be careless. Women and children can be careless, but not men. How's your boy?
He's good.
You know, he looks more like you every day.
He's smarter than I am. 3 years old, he can read the funny papers.
Read the funny paper. I want you to arrange to have a telephone man. Check all the calls that go. You're not here.
I did it already, Pop.
You know, could be
Pop,
anyone.
I took care of that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
What's the matter? What's bothering you? I'll handle it. I told you I can handle it. I'll handle it.
So there you have the Don, old, going senile, and he's compulsively and repeatedly warning Michael about the Barzini, the meeting with the Barzinis. Let me do it one more time. This is so important. Let me tell you one more time. And I brought that up because once again, I come to you week after week after week, and I'm upset about these issues that I'm trying to share with you, knowledge that I have, firsthand knowledge that I have with you. And I am so upset that there's these others out there that are talking about the same topic as me, but they have no personal involvement, and they're getting their information from Googling and watching YouTube and watching documentaries and reading articles. And I'm trying to explain to them, you know, and even when I see these people and they're talking about something I worked on, I'll say to them, hey, you know, would you like to talk about this? I worked on this. And they're not interested because they've got their own agenda. And I warn you about this week after week after the week. Well, it's getting to the point where it sounds like I'm complaining or I'm jealous or my ego is involved. But I'm telling you this because it's so important to me. I did this show. I came on the radio because I felt that I had important things to share with the world, you know, about my experience, things I knew about the media, things I knew about certain things and you know, different cases I've worked on and things, which I'm going to tell you about later on. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Secret Service and my involvement with the U.S. Secret Service. I was going to name the show. It's my personal involvement with the U.S. Secret Service because right now we have the January 6th hearings. And the Secret Service, everyone's reporting to you in the news about how they've deleted their text messages, but they haven't deleted their text message. What they've done is reset their phones. They've restored their phones to factory settings. They've done a factory reset on their phones, which was standard procedure, okay? But they were supposed to back up information before they did that, which they did not. So I'm going to explain to you all about deleting text, what can be preserved, what can't be preserved, what the process is. I'm going to explain all that to you because I have firsthand experience of this. I have firsthand experience in dealing with the U.S. Secret Service, and I have firsthand experience dealing with cell phone forensics. That's what I'm here to talk about, stuff that I know about. But we had another incident this week, okay? And it's really not important what the topic was. But what the topic was about, let me pull up my notes here. Boy, it's so sad to see this kid here screwing himself up. Hey, the topic was the John Wayne Gacy, okay? And just to give you a little short scenario here, someone had posted this new documentary. It was like I didn't even watch it. It was like this kind of YouTube video about John Wayne Gacy, and we're going on, oh my God, this is so great. And I said, oh yeah, I got a lot involved with John Wayne Gacy. Let me tell you this. And 10 years ago, when I first started doing the show, I had got wind of this litigation that one of the families of a John Wayne Gacy victim did not believe that the DNA would match the son. They didn't believe that the body found underneath Gacy's house was actually their son. they believed it was just attributed to being their son. Their son was missing. Their son did know Gacy, but they didn't believe that body belonged to their son. And the attorney was working on doing some DNA testing. I was in touch with the attorney. This is way, way back before I ever spoke a word about this on the air. Okay? 10 years ago, we're talking. And back then, I got the whole story about how there was another pedophile and child prostitution ring that was going on in that same area, walking distance to Gacy's home, where there was a Rolodex of hundreds and hundreds of names and hundreds of victims that was mysteriously missing and disappeared, and all this information. Then I tried to get that attorney to come on the show. And I spent months and months and months trying to get that attorney to come on the show. I could not get him to come on the show. Either there was a case coming up, there was something coming up, he couldn't do it, whatever. There was always a reason, but he couldn't do it. Finally, he puts me in touch with the private investigator, Mr. Dortch, who was involved in all this himself, okay, personally, firsthand involved. I get him on the show. And we discuss all these different things. He tells us about how he knows of these other locations where there's definitely bodies buried, and they brought a team out there. They were supposed to search, but the cops wouldn't let them search in the area when they wanted to search, and all this stuff. Then, after I did that show, a listener sent me some photographs of a child that went missing with Gacy that later on turned up with Rodney Acala. Okay, so a child who they thought was dead with Gacy was kept alive for years and wound up in a stack of photographs associated with Rodney Acala, the dating game killer, who has all kinds of connections to Roman Polanski and Marlon Brando. He dumped a body on Marlon Brando's front porch, okay? And you can't even find that on Google, okay? There's also been are you getting the gist yet that I'm deep involved in this yet? Okay, you know what I mean? That I know several people involved. I got inside stories you haven't heard reported anywhere, okay? And I know all this stuff. And I try and share this, and people tell me, oh, that's not what it says in the documentary. I said, well, listen, I know where these bodies are, and as soon as I do my documentary, we're going to go there and take up these bodies because we know where they are. And then I had a letter from the ground penetrating radar company that went there, who says in the letter, we know exactly where these bodies are, but the cops wouldn't let us search there. They only let us search around the corner. They wouldn't let us agree to search where we found the bodies. They were 90% sure. I got all this. I got it in a letter. I scanned the letter, and I post the letter. And I said, look, this is my involvement in all this, man. I've been working on this for years. And this is what I'm telling you is just off the top of my head from memory. And what do I get back? Oh, those pictures don't look alike. Oh, they already searched that area. I got the letter, guys, from the company that did the search. They didn't search there, So it's this disconnect. It's this, even from people I respect, okay? People I respect. People, I respect their judgment. I respect their ability to research. But they cannot make the connection from something that they've Googled and something that's people are living in real life. They cannot make that connection. They're not calling anybody directly. They're not speaking with anybody, but they just can't make that connection. It's over and over. I got to tell you, when the Barzini meeting comes, they're going to kill you. Okay? Did I get that through your head yet? You can't trust these memes. You can't trust these articles, okay? And you can't trust these documentaries and stories and stuff like that. And there's all kind of stuff I've been trying to get out there. Forget it's the kiss of death. Nobody wants to talk about it. Just did an interview with a guy today, and he starts trying to, he's got this whole thing about that book, Go Ask Alice, and he's 7 years working on this book. And then he goes into it, and this other book, Jason's Diary, I think it was called, Jason's Journal, Jay's Journal, I think it was called. And that inspired satanic panic, and it ruined so many lives. And all that. Okay, well, can you tell me, what cases of satanic panic have you investigated? He tells me McMartin. Yeah, okay, fine. So now, if this is your skills of investigating, a story, then I got to question everything else you're doing. Not that the guy's not a nice guy, but he just, Well, you got to be careful because there's a lot of revisionism going on. There's a lot of rewriting of history there. There's a lot of money floating around to get to change these stories. The whole Ricky Casso, Say You Love Satan, the Acid King, that whole story has been rewritten. You know, and we've talked here many, many times with the whole Son of Sam thing, what's going on with that. So there's a big effort to make it, poo, all this never happened. Oh, it was all confusion. Oh, yeah, we walked around. Oh, yeah, sure, we said Satan. Sure, we did. Okay, wait a minute. You know, a lot of stuff, man. You know, a lot of stuff. Oh, yeah, my mother was about the cult. Yeah, my mother was a witch. Yeah, they had Ouija boards. Oh, yeah, but nothing there. You know, and so you see it over and over again. So this is why, you know, it kills me when I'm trying to tell you something I know, not something I read. Not something I saw on TV, but something I know, something that I lived in real life. So now it comes out this week about how the U.S. Secret Service, now they're lawyering up, and they destroyed evidence in this investigation, this January 6th hearing into the coup, which now they're openly calling a coup. And now, too, if you notice, they're releasing some clues about the Hill Cops' involvement in that coup. And I'm going to get that to you by the end of the show. Hopefully, we've got plenty of time tonight. Let me see how we're doing on time. 31 minutes. We're not doing that good on time. Okay, I'll have to talk faster. But they are starting to give you little clues about the Hill Cops' involvement in this coup. Okay? And I'm going to read. I got some quotes for you. I'm going to read to you later on. But let me first say about my experience with the U.S. Secret Service. My first contact with the whole U.S. Secret Service, I guess besides over the years, PI conventions and stuff like that, you know, you're working on cases. Okay, yeah, former Secret Service. Okay, fine. But, you know, nothing that strikes out at me. My partner in Harbor Aviation, who was, you know, I was a civilian, you know, but he was my partner in the PI business, was NYPD Harbor Aviation. And they, you know, when Secret Service would come to town, they were intimately coordinated with the U.S. Secret Service. So these are things I'm familiar with. This isn't something far away. But the first time I became involved was the story of the Real Housewives of Washington, D.C., Mikhail Salahi and Tariq Salahi, and they were the White House party gate crashers. They crashed a party of the Congressional Black Caucus. There was a party at the White House, and they got past U.S. Secret Service, okay? And this launched a whole congressional hearing, which is the first congressional hearing I was involved in, and where they took the fifth, okay, at this hearing. But I know a lot of the information behind the scenes. I know a lot of the mistakes, the errors, the allegations that went on behind the scenes with all of that I'm aware of. Now, obviously, since I have a client, the client took the fifth. I can't talk about what I know on it. But that was my first exposure to the U.S. Secret Service. Now, the second time was much more elaborate and much more unpleasant, okay? And that was the whole story about Shelley Tripp and the investigation into the Sarah Palin and Todd Palin. I did a show a few weeks back where I explained to you that I found out more recently how Russians and Russian oligarchs were involved in the McCain campaign, and they were involved with Manafort and another fellow, I forget his name at the moment now, but I did a whole show about this. It was a whole big revelation to me. Because during that investigation, I experienced a lot of infiltration. My home was broken into. The material was stolen from my home. People were inserting themselves into my life that were clearly intelligence agents. You know, one of them was just so obvious. You know, pictures of her at the embassies and on a train in Egypt during Arab Spring, and they're shooting at the train, and she's got home video of this. You know, the wild stuff, man, wild stuff. Okay, but then later on, I realized that what I thought I now believe was in Russian intelligence. Okay, was inserting themselves into my life. Okay, and that explains so much too about Sarah Palin and her life and her background and how she was catapulted to this position and who trained her for media. Because there was definitely a turning point where she was just this redneck goofball that suddenly had some kind of media training. Who trained her? You know, where did that come from? I always thought it was Kissinger. Anyway, we can get into all of that later on in another lifetime, because we're talking about the U.S. Secret Service. Now, we said, well, Ed, what does that have to do with the U.S. Secret Service, Sarah Palin and all that? What did that have to do with it? Well, my client, after this was all kind of blown over, and Sarah Palin declared that she wasn't going to run for president, which happened the day after I received all her material, the laptop and the hard drive and the Rolodexes and stuff like that. Sarah Palin went on in the news. She says, well, there's people accusing my husband of having an affair, so I've decided not to run for president. Okay? So, but what happened was, months later, there was a big scandal about Obama and his Secret Service agents down in Colombia going to see some prostitutes down there, and they wouldn't pay them, and there was an arrest down there. It was a big scandal. I got a phone call right away. Ed, I know that guy. That guy who down there in Colombia did the same exact thing. Ed, this is his name. He was Sarah Palin's Secret Service agent. Now he's down there in Colombia. I know who the guy is. Boom. What comes on the news later on, who the guy is, she was 100% right. So this is how I got involved in that congressional investigation into Secret Service misbehavior. Okay. Now this I was much more involved in. I produced material and exhibits for this hearings and stuff like that, this investigation. And ultimately, now one thing, okay, we want to talk about my experience with U.S. Secret Service is never before, okay, of dealing with clients, dealing with district attorneys, police departments, sheriff's departments, where evidence is being shipped to my office, okay, was there ever any kind of interruption with those shipments? Now, I've had other situations with clients, sending me material that there was, the material was intercepted, okay? I have no doubt about that. But in this, and one time, and it was with a guy who was a guest on this show, and his background, I can see why it would happen. And the box was just ripped open, okay, to make it obvious, man. Hey, man, we just ripped open your box, okay, to take a look inside of it, because we don't like your guest and we don't like you, okay? But in this situation here, with some of this material around this U.S. Secret Service investigation, a large FedEx envelope, in fact, I have pictures of it up on my Facebook. I'll put up on the Patreon. A large FedEx envelope was sent to me, and there was a tiny hole punctured in the envelope where you could stick a little pinhole camera in there with a little light on it, look around and see what's inside, okay? Now, I believe that this was heavy-handed U.S. Secret Service surveillance on me during that time and interference in my investigation into their misbehavior, okay? Now, not only that, too, I forgot what I was going to say. There was, they broke into the thing. Oh, right. This brings up a whole thing, too, because one of the reasons why I finally resigned from that job there, okay, is because when it's clear as freaking day that you're under surveillance, the last thing you want to do is have somebody giving you tracking numbers over the phone, okay, or email. You know what I mean? There's steps you can take to avoid that kind of surveillance, okay? You can ship from a different account. You could have it shipped, from a different post office you normally use, that you're not using your account number on there. You could send somebody else with the material to send it. You send it to a different address. I have plenty of addresses you can send to me that I can use all over the place. Okay, but then also too, you don't give up you don't talk about it on the phone. You don't talk about it in email, and these little basic steps of security were being ignored, and what do you call frustrating me, blatantly ignoring these kind of things, these simple steps to avoid this kind of problems. Well, why create more problems for yourself? In that investigation, it was run by Joel Lieberman. Who then later on, I found out later on, too, that he was very close to McCain. He was very close with the Sarah Palin story. So he wanted to do no favors for me. I had no idea. So much of this I was so naive about, and I wasn't, it was about 20 years ago, I wasn't that much of a babe in the woods, but just had no idea. I guess I was over my head with that. That was before Epstein stuff. But then again, too, it prepared me for Epstein. I'll tell you that. It prepared me for Epstein. I was terrified going into the Sarah Palin investigation. I talked to my pastor. I talked to my father about it. I talked to a lot of people, advisors, and advised me, hey, there was no reward at the end of that. Trust me. It was nothing but grief from beginning to end. But it did give me the experience and the courage to move ahead with the Epstein investigation when that was dropped in my lap. And then other things, too, now that come along all the time, constantly dropping in my lap. Oh, boy. So, but the U.S. Secret Service, people have this impression of them that these are really, because they make that face when they drive and stuff like that. You know what I mean? That they look real serious and they look real professional, and they got a lot of good equipment. I guess they've done some good movies. But they have a really bad reputation of heavy, heavy drinking, heavy, heavy womanizing. Did you know that at the Olympics in Utah there was a huge scandal about the U.S. Secret Service bringing in underage girls to these hotel rooms, to their parties, and getting them drunk and working these girls over. Huge scandal. You don't see it anywhere. There was just a scandal just this year in April of agents that were involved because, there's different branches of U.S. Secret Service. Some are dressed like cops, and they work out in front of the White House, and they check people in, they check people out, just like the ones who snuck past them with General Flynn and Sidney Powell and Pat Byrne, that wacko guy, man. I told you that whole story a couple of weeks back. Might have been last week. They got those guys at the front with the uniforms on, and then you got the guys in suits and ties. Then they investigate counterfeiting and credit card fraud, all kinds of stuff like that too. So U.S. Secret Service is a big operation, but they have this reputation of being really hard partiers. And a lot of things came up during that hearing and that investigation. Stories about, a woman Secret Service agent decked out in full SWAT gear who was having a custody issue with her husband or her boyfriend or whatever it was, and went to her kid's school in full SWAT attire, decked out with weapons and tear gas, and almost got to pick up her kid at school. Like, not during pickup time. She went there during the day and just got her kid out of there in full SWAT gear. Cops fall on the street, being found drunk in the street with their guns stolen. Martha's Vineyard, wild parties up at bars at Martha's Vineyard and stuff like that, where they were banned from returning back to the clubs and back to the bars. And then plus this whole thing that just happened, this huge bribery scandal where these agents were getting free apartments and free cars. Their rent paid for a year, and really huge, lack of security there. Pitfall. I forget the word I'm looking for. Penetration, faulty. Someone else type out the word for me. I'm sure. So there's all of that too. So U.S. Secret Service. What's this here? Okay. Olympics preschool, Martha Vineyard. Okay, now this whole business about them deleting messages from the phone. Now, it's being reported to you, even in mainstream media and stuff like that. Oh, it doesn't, when you delete a message from a phone, anything can be recovered from a phone once it's deleted. There's nothing's ever really deleted. It can all be recovered. And this is being reported to you like it's the truth. Now, first of all, it's not the truth. Even if you have a phone that's a couple of years old, where the software and the tools are well updated, in good use and practice, and proficient and successful in acquiring that phone, there's still going to be data that won't come off that phone. Well, Ed, that's just because you have some kind of civilian version, but they have these other versions. That's not true at all. They're using Celebrite just like everyone is using Celebrite nowadays. It's a $35,000 software. The update patches every year to update your license is about $3,000, $4,000. And everyone's using the same thing. Now, I've had cases and jobs, high-profile cases, where I could go to the company and say, hey, man, I got this phone here. You don't have anything that supports it. and they would say to me, hey, Ed, we got this beta version you could test out and use. There's bugs in it, but you'll be able to get some information. We know it works on that device, so you can use this, But that's, again, too, not everybody can pull that off. It's me because I'm working on big, fancy cases, and I have a personality. I can get along with people. I can cajole people and, finesse people. But your average digital forensic investigator can't pull that off. And then it was that big thing about, I guess, during the Santa Barbara or that shooting at one of those businesses with that Muslim couple, the San Bernardino shooting, and they made a big stink out of it. They went to Apple, and Apple won't help them break it into the phone and get the text messages out of the phone. Because what happens is when a new device comes on the market, there isn't software tools available yet to get into that phone. And even a brand new operating system, when a brand new operating system comes in and the phones are updated, the softwares aren't updated to deal with that operating system yet either. So there's that whole level of not being able to get into the phone. Do you know, that there are devices that you can't recover anything from that device, and there are no softwares that you can that will acquire that device and print out a report and create a report for that device? And in order to make a report on that device, what you have to do is they sell you a little camera with like on a tripod, with a, what do you call it, like a brace? Oh my God, I can't come up with any words. With a grip, kind of thing. It's a grip onto the phone, like a vice kind of thing, a clamp, I guess you might call it, that clamps onto the phone. And then you can take pictures, and that's what you use for your report. You can only get what's in the phone by taking pictures of what's in the phone. Okay, so this whole idea of anything can be recovered from a phone is mythology. That's something for TV, man. That doesn't exist in real life. Now, when a phone has been factory reset, that stuff is gone. Now, it's gone off of that phone, but there's other methods you can use. Any device that has text messages, phone calls, call logs, caller ID, all these kind of things. There is another device out there somewhere in the world that has the corresponding messages because it's communicating with another device. If you can get your hands on that other device, then you're in business. Maybe that phone was backed up to a computer. Maybe there's information in the cloud. So it's not 100% you can't get nothing. But let me tell you something. There's a lot of times you can get nothing. Okay? Now, you got a big investigation like January 6th. Yeah, you got some good resources there. You can subpoena a lot of different phones and get some corresponding information. But it's not all cut and dried like you think. And this isn't deleted text. This is factory reset phones that should have been backed up first that were not. And obviously for a reason, because they have stuff to hide. And obviously for another reason, too, is that they're just not as policy driven, as you think they are. They're just not as dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's as people think they are. They're just not. Okay, it's partying guys. It's a hard drinking, hard partying guys. What their reputation is. Okay, and a little heavy handed too. And my personal experience, I believe they crossed the line and violated my rights, man, and broke into my mail and all kinds of stuff. Okay, which I believe was them. Because things change when things change from the investigation into Sarah Palin and then investigation to the Secret Service. Whole different it was night and day. Okay, as far as the heat coming down on me. Okay, what are we doing here? So that's U.S. Secret Service. Okay. Now, a lot of people will say too, well, Ed, what about the NSA, the National Security Agency? Don't they collect every single phone call and every single text message and every bit of electronic communication out there in the world? Don't they have this, Ed? They probably do, okay? Now, there may be some kind of software or exemption that the NSA doesn't have access to Secret Service devices. They may have some kind of devices that the NSA cannot get. I would doubt that with all my... But the thing is, NSA just does not share that with civilians. They do not share it with criminal cases, any kind of civilian litigation, nothing, It's out there, And I've seen people in very, very high positions, names you would know, and we would talk about satellite images and certain, hey, can't you get this? Can't you get, you have all this access. Can't you get this? You know Reagan, you know Bush. Can't you get this? You know Petraeus. Can't you get this? We need this. I gotta pay anything for it. And no. And this look comes over their face like, yeah, it's there. No, I don't know how you get that. So I don't know how. Okay, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know how. I'm not the NBC News pretending like I know everything and telling you that these are deleted text messages when they're not deleted. These are factory reset messages. Now, all along, I've been telling you what about this January 6th hearing? I've been telling you that the Hill cops, the Capitol Hill police, were complicit and involved in this attack. Now, I got a bunch of things to corroborate that for you. Okay, first of all, there's the whole Liebengood story. If you're not familiar with the whole Liebengood story, he was the son. He was the first suicide the next day. His father was the sergeant at arms. His father retired from being the sergeant at arms and went to work for Stone and Manafort's lobbying firm. Okay, the next is January 6th, and his Liebengood cop kills himself the next day, or he dies the next day. We know there's no autopsy. No one really knows how he died, but they claim it's suicide. Okay, very suspicious to me. Okay, so now you got one suspicious Hill cop death. Okay, now there's a video. The first guy to break in, he had captured a police officer's shield, and he used it to bust in the window, and they start climbing in. He was a Proud Boy, and they start climbing in through that broken glass window, and they're even talking about it on the radios. They've breached the window. They're coming in, right? Now, when you watch the closed-circuit video surveillance from inside the Capitol building, the first guy that comes in, the first thing he does is he puts his hands up. Okay? Now that tells me that there were cops there, uniformed cops, that were there, maybe weapons drawn, that were out of sight of the cameras. Okay? Interesting that they would know where the cameras are and they would be out of sight of those cameras. Okay? Interesting that this guy would put his hands up as if he was looking at some cops staring at him in the face. And very interesting that these cops made no effort to stop people from coming through that window. Okay? With bats, batons, tear gas, pepper spray, tasers, or lethal stopping power. Okay? That no steps were taken to prevent anybody from coming through that window. And people came through that window, and a couple others, when they came through, had their hands up too as well. So very interesting video surveillance. But a couple of things. One thing you have, and what have I been saying you all along, is that the Capitol Police were complicit and allowed this, that there were, and you don't need the whole entire Capitol Police. You only need a couple of guys in there who can have a couple of friends. You only need a few, okay, to influence the whole thing. Okay, 'cause that's how cops work, okay? You got a couple of dirty cops, man. They know all the other dirty cops. It's the same thing. These guys are such gossipy washwomen you have no idea in your life. Okay, and they're all up to shenanigans. But, Ed, where's the smoking gun? I got to smoke it. How about Trump? Okay, at 2:28 p.m., Trump tweets, "Please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful." So, and then you got the guys, Oath Keepers. Hey, Trump says they're on our side. Okay? All right. What more do you want than that? Now, what was the goal of Trump? And it was to delay the counting of these ballots, the certification of these electoral college votes. Okay? Stall. Slow it down. Prevent. Even if you got to kill Mike Pence. Okay, just imagine if they would have killed Mike Pence. If that crowd would have killed Mike Pence and killed Nancy Pelosi, that's the whole chain of command behind Trump. And if Trump had led that bunch in there into that building, and they took over that building and did not release that building back, and they could not gather and count those ballots, if that crowd could have got their hands on those boxes of electoral college votes, okay, all right, this was a serious coup, and it was close. The only thing that saved this democracy, run by the CIA, okay, and capitalists, it was incompetence, okay, because it's not like they weren't trying. They were trying with all their little might, okay, up until the end of the night. And what do we have? What else did they show us? Now, why did they show us this video of Chuck Schumer? Okay, I've had my own dealings with Chuck Schumer, too, back in New York City. when I had the beeper company, okay? But Chuck Schumer, I'm not a fan of Chuck Schumer's, but and Chuck Schumer's on the phone there talking to somebody. He's talking to somebody in security who is talking to Christopher Miller. And he says, some people in Capitol Police say it will take several days to secure the building. What do you say, Christopher Miller? And Christopher Miller says, well, in best case scenario, we could do it in 4 or 5 hours. But I'm not there. I don't know. But Capitol Police were telling Chuck Schumer, hey, we're not giving you this building back for 4 or 5 days. How do you like that? So we have Trump saying they're on our side. We have Capitol Police saying, hey, we're not giving you the building back for 5 days. We need to secure it. Okay? They had to be overruled, by other security people to say, well, you talk to those guys. Right? Then there's also all kind of communications back and forth with the U.S. Secret Service inside the building. And they're communicating with some other security forces inside the building and saying, hey, can we get through that hallway? Well, there's smoke, there's people there, all this shenanigans going on. And you can listen to all this yourself. You don't need me to listen for you. I don't have any special access to any kind of information when I'm just telling you what I heard on TV. So that's something we can all debate. Okay, I don't have any kind of extra information for you on that. I'm not going to tell you about any Barzini meeting as far as that goes. Real quick, Johnny Depp settled a lawsuit against some guy he smacked around on a movie set because he was drunk and wasted. The hero, Johnny Depp, can you believe that? What a great guy. I guess Amber Heard somehow. It's her fault. Ricky Martin also settled a lawsuit with his nephew. He admits he had a consensual sexual relationship with his nephew. So an incestuous sexual relationship with a younger relative. The younger relative claims there was also domestic abuse and violence involved. He says that Ricky Martin was stalking him. And a judge in Puerto Rico granted a restraining order, but that was settled for a few bucks. There's a lot of stuff here that we're not going to be able to get into tonight. We're out of time. All right, guys, thank you so much. Coming up next after this will be Stuart Rhodes. Stuart Rhodes, Oath Keepers and how they're swingers, and about their purchasing weapons. January 6th will be his, commercials. Don't forget, really need your support. Okay, I got a big trip coming up. We got to get a new car, okay, because I can't keep renting cars. First of all, I hit a deer last time I rented a car, so I got a little problem with the insurance company and the rental companies. So we have to buy a new car to drive up. I need a new car anyway. I was going to get one anyway. So we got that expense, and I'm taping up shows like crazy for you here, so there's no interruption in the show. So if you can become a Patreon and help support these efforts, help me get Vic back up to college in one piece. You just had to rent a new apartment. Got a lot of expenses, let's put it that way. A lot of bills, a lot of expenses. And I haven't asked for any kind of donations in years. We got one $25 donation last week. One guy. There's another guy that sends like $2 a month. And then you got Brace Belden from Chewing On sends $100 a month. Okay. So let's support. Okay, guys, good night. And now a word from our sponsors.
Before Epstein was the Franklin cover-up. Before that, the Finders. And long before that, the Cleveland Street scandal. Pedogate Primer is a concise